What up guys, today we're going to be debunking Death Battle's video of Goku vs Superman 2. Now, you guys already know at this point that I've already done the Goku vs Superman video 1 and 2 a while back on this channel, but the problem I had with those videos was the quality on it was kind of trash, if I'm being honest. And as I've gotten through my YouTube career, I've gotten better, and I've gotten better with my video making, and the styles of my videos have gotten significantly better. And when I first did it, I was proud of what I made in those videos. It was just that the quality I felt like wasn't good enough. And I already redone Goku vs Superman 1 video, which has gotten over 1,000 views at this point. It's got a 1.1k views, which is amazing, and thank you to you guys for doing that. So I wanted to do it for part 2, also do a remake for it. Now I'm going to state this, guys, I have skipped the beginning analysis and the fight itself. I'm only going to be focusing on the post analysis that he gave on why Superman won, because the pre-analysis is basically what we heard in the original video, where it's just talking about their backstories and their backgrounds, whereas in that one they did have feats that they showed for both the characters. In this one they didn't. They were just mentioning and explaining their new power sets and what they're going to be doing different in this video than the last. And the only parts that had real amounts of feats in it was toward the tail end of this video, so I'm gonna be focusing on that part of this video in general. Also, I want to give a big shout out to a couple of new subscribers of mine by the name of sorry, I have to go back to it, Voodoo Style 88 and a fellow nerd 1. So big thank you to you two for subscribing to this channel. That means a lot. But yeah, like I said, the last one did really good, and I want to redo this one also because I felt like it was important. But I'm only going to use the post analysis since I felt like the rest of the video was kind of pointless, and I don't want to put you guys through shit that doesn't really matter. Also, I want to say this. Sorry if I look a little sweaty and sticky. It is hot over here. I can't turn on my fan because it's gonna mess with the audio of this video, and I don't want it to do that. So if I'm sweaty and sticky looking, just know it's very hot and I can't do anything about it. Also, I want to say this, that I am planning on dropping out a big video pretty soon. I've already contacted ZoneZ1 for the thumbnail for the video, and he's already sent me it, so big thank you to him. I'm going to be doing a How Strong is Cosmic King Thor video soon, and it's going to take some time. I'm probably going to make a multi-part video of that because it is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. I took quite a bit of images, and I felt like it's going to require more than one video, so that will be dropping out, so wait and stay tuned for that. I will be doing also other videos on how strong are these certain characters, because I do have a little series for that. So yeah, let's get into this.
Torches and pitchforks down! Before you start raging, please hear us out on this one, alright?
Goku is incredibly powerful, a skilled warrior, and a great character. But Superman is on a completely different level, one which really doesn't belong in versus matches like these. Sure, due to the writing style of Dragon Ball, Super Saiyan God Goku's exact limits are difficult to pinpoint. Also, Goku will likely achieve a new form in the future. It's just how Dragon Ball works nowadays. However, none of that is really a factor. Goku will always have limits, while Superman's maximum potential is limitless.
Don't believe us? Well, strap in, boys and girls. Let's look at how Superman breaks reality. One day, Superman was hanging out near Vega, the brightest star in the Lyra constellation.
For the record, that's 25 light years from Earth, or 147 trillion miles.
Naturally, a crisis occurred on Earth, so Superman's photographer buddy Jimmy activated his signal watch, calling for Superman's aid. And Superman arrived in a matter of minutes!
Being a comic book, the time Superman took getting to Earth is unspecified. However, the comic never mentioned or implied any large time lapse, and he arrived as the battle was ending. Even if we seriously lowballed this feat to taking 10 minutes, Superman would be traveling over 800 trillion miles per hour, over 1,000,000 times the speed of light. But more impressively, Jimmy's signal watch operates by emitting a high-frequency sound only Superman can hear. Which means Superman heard the signal in the vacuum of space 25 light years away. That is physically impossible. Except for Superman.
Okay, so this is the thing they do. They bring these feats. Some of them are taken out of context. Other ones are just complete total lies. him going there from there, like, I do think that at least they're being reasonable here, saying even if we give him 10 minutes, it'll be millions. Yeah, you can argue Superman's billions to trillions of times faster than speed of light. Nobody's going to argue there, but that doesn't really mean that you're limitless just because you can go a trillion times faster than speed of light. That's not that impressive. There are characters, I mean, we have the whole argument and debate quite a bit back and forth. I don't fully agree with it, but the infinite speed and incalculable speed and stuff like that, where you can move faster than time and go in an infinite distance. If you want to make an argument for him being limitless, you can make, you know, if you're using a speed feat on that level, then you have an argument. But just saying he goes like millions of times faster than speed of light, that makes him, you know, limitless, isn't really a good argument. Also, they need to stop with that argument. That was one of the dumbest, worst arguments ever. Even some of the biggest, most hardcore Superman fanboys, even if they want to put him in Outerverse or whatever, are not going to state that he is unbeatable and, you know, completely, virtually limitless. That's the worst argument. And this has been debunked quite a bit, but I felt like it was important for me to do it too, since my channel's kind of newer and I felt like my points were pretty good too. Now, like I said, going millions of times faster than speed of light does not make you, you know, be limitless. It just means you're very powerful, but there's countless characters that can do that. Also, like I stated before, combat speed is more important than travel speed. Just because he can move that fast doesn't mean he could fight at that levels of speed, so that doesn't really matter anyway. But the whole watch thing about Jimmy Olsen, you know, contacting him, he's like, he was somehow able to hear it, and it doesn't make sense, but for Superman it does. That's not true. What actually happened in the comic book is Superman also had a watch like Jimmy Olsen does, and when Jimmy, you know, sets it off, you know, it not only does it set off an alarm, but it also starts to glow. But when Superman was in outer space, since he cannot really hear in outer space, he saw the watch glowing. So he didn't hear the watch, he just saw the watch glowing, and then he came down there because he knew that it was important. So they're kind of being deceptive there, and they're hiding the fact that it was the fact that he was also wearing a watch and it was, you know, he saw it glowing. So they're trying to make it sound like, oh, he set off the alarm and he heard the alarm from all the way from Earth, all the way from 25 million light, or did he say 25 light years? Yeah, 25 light years away. When in reality, he actually had the watch on that sends off not only a sound, but also it sends off the light signal, which he saw the light and flew there. So it was nothing about the sound. That's just complete BS. And you're going to see even worse arguments that they make where they completely lie in this video.
Oh, you aren't impossible! How about the time he lifted Spectre off the ground? A guy literally made up of eternity! No, not insane enough for you? Well then, how about the time Superman lifted a book of infinite pages? That's right, Superman lifted both eternity and infinity.
Though he did have some help from Wonder Woman and Shazam.
Hey Wiz, what's half of infinity? Infinity!
Regardless, they have limits in their own strength. So while they were lifting a specific set part for each load, Superman was lifting everything else, which literally means everything else. Really, Wonder Woman and Shazam didn't even need to be there.
Superman's held a black hole.
Okay, let's talk about the eternity thing. The problem with that argument, those two ones, they're both, one, not infinite, two, they both failed. These are complete lies. The one with Wonder Woman and stuff, they stated that he did all the work and they just helped out, and they weren't even needed there. If that was the case, why would they be there then? Just to be like, oh yeah, we want to look like we're gonna help out? That's stupid. This is just dumb. That's a dumb argument to make. Also, it's kind of ironic because both those instances, he actually failed. The one where he's holding up Spectre. One, Spectre is not infinite, because if he was, he would have gone through the entire planet itself. All he did was crush the surface of the Earth. If he was really had an infinite mass, he would have gone completely through it and created a supermassive black hole because of, you know, how much mass he has. But he didn't do that. Also, in the comic book, like I said, him and Wonder Woman actually technically failed. They try to lift him up, they barely lift him up, and they drop him. They can't do it. And then I think it was Hal Jordan's Green Lantern had to create a pocket dimension because the Green Lantern rings can't form pocket dimensions, so he created a pocket dimension to drop him in there, to hold him in there. And they do argue the whole thing, he had eternity in him, which eternity equates to, you know, infinity, which isn't true. Eternity does not mean infinity. Eternity is a measurement of time, whereas infinity can be a measurement of anything. And I guess they can be sometimes synonymous, but they're not 100% linked. So, for example, eternity means like forever, like the time will go on forever. Whereas infinity can mean going on forever for like same thing with time, but also weight and stuff like that. So it just means infinite, completely infinity. But eternity is specifically talking about time itself. So those aren't two of the same things. And like I said, if he was was, then he would have, he would have gone through the planet and created a supermassive black hole. But also, they failed in the end of the day anyway. They both failed to lift him up, and Green Lantern had to, hold him in a pocket dimension. So if anybody was able to, accomplish that feat, it was him, not those two. And then with the Book of Infinite Pages, the same argument there. It's not infinite. What it is basically a library source of every book in the, DC multiverse put into there, which does sound very impressive, but it's still not infinite. And even then, here's the thing that's wrong about it. It doesn't have all the pages from those books piled into it. It just has the information from all those books throughout the multiverse, and whoever holds it basically has to select whichever thing they're looking for. Let's say you're looking for biology. You have all these other books. You say biology, it'll show you every book that has to do with biology, and that can be a little bit too much to handle, so you can't handle it. So no, it does not have infinite pages. That's just the name. It has infinite pages, and they call it infinite pages because it has every book in the multiverse. And second of all, it doesn't even have the weight of all those books in the multiverse. It just has the information from it, and then depending on what information you're looking at, it'll selectively choose all that information from that select subject that you're looking at. And it has nothing to do with strength. And Superman and Shazam that are holding it, it was already floating in the air already prior to that. And Superman and Shazam actually failed at holding it. They tried to get the information. They're trying to beat a cosmic entity that was fighting against one of the... I forgot what their names are. The monitors. He was fighting against one of the monitors. His name was Null, and they were trying to find information on him or something. And both him and Shazam held the book and tried to get the information, and they failed, and they blew apart and they were in limbo, so they hit somebody and they fell off. And then Ultraman came and took it, and he was able to find this exact specific information and read it. So if Superman and him failed, but he was able to do it, which Superman should be stronger than Ultraman, it doesn't make any sense. It was not meant to be showcasing his strength. So both those instances, not only are they not infinite, showcases of infinite strength or require infinite strength, but they also, it's ironic that in both of those instances that they showed, Superman failed. He failed to lift up Spectre with Wonder Woman. He barely lifted him up and dropped him, and then, Hal Jordan had to create a pocket dimension to capture him in there. And then the Book of Infinite Pages with him and Shazam trying to read it, trying to gather the knowledge. They couldn't do it, and they got blown away and got knocked down. And Ultraman came in and took it, and then he was able to get the information and use it for himself. So yeah, both of those were terrible. And then this one, I've gone through this many times. He's talking about he held, a black hole in his hand that could destroy the solar system, whatever. He held a machine that held a black hole the size of a speck of dust within it, and the machine let out a bit of the gravity, not the whole thing, a bit of it, and he was holding it for a moment time. And you see later on, John Stewart's Green Lantern also forms, a barrier around it to help him out, which showcased that Superman couldn't do it on his own, and he was dying. He said this is unbearable. So he was holding a mini black hole the size of a speck of dust that was held within a machine that trapped a majority of the gravitational gravity in it, except for a bit of it that was leaking out that he was holding back. So it's not as impressive as they try to make it sound out to be.
Survived an explosion equal to 50 supernovas, flew to the center of...
No, he did not. He did not survive the explosion. He survived the electromagnetic wave from the supernova explosion. If you read the comic book itself, Superman's flying away from it, and his father, Jonathan Kent, he's stating that he's like, my son is very powerful. He's super powerful, but if he was to be touched by the radiation that was following behind him, he would have been instantly incinerated. But luckily for him, to this day, he didn't have to, because he was able to outmatch the pace of it. So he just outflew the electromagnetic wave. If he could survive 50 supernovas and had infinite power, he wouldn't need to run away. He could have just stood there and tanked it. If I had infinite power, I wouldn't run away. What would be the point of running away and using all my energy when I can definitely take it? I would just stood there and took the damage. But the fact that he was flying away disproved it. And even when you read the part where they cropped out, which they specifically did to make their point, even Jonathan Kent was narrating that if he was touched by the radiation that was following him, he would have died. Also, this one, I do agree, he flew into the red sun, and he survived it. It was him and Golden Age Superman and against Superboy, and they were flying through there, but it depleted them all completely of their power. So they did survive it, but they got their powers completely depleted. But the 50 supernova stuff, he only survived the electromagnetic wave, not the radiation, which it was stated would have incinerated him. He just outpaced it. And if he did have that power, he wouldn't have to run away from it so fast.
Of a red sun, which is like tanking millions of nukes rapid fire, and once easily absorbed enough solar energy to vaporize half a galaxy. And to put an end to the Wizards magazine argument, here he is getting thrown from orbit into Earth with enough force to devastate the planet and cause nuclear winter. Oh look, he stood up moments later more pissed off than hurt. Oh, and
I do agree that magazine that they said where he falls down to the earth and he would die, that is stupid. He would be able to survive way more than that. So I don't agree with that. But they said right before that, besides the million nukes thing, which is like, okay, so what? Okay, yeah. They said that he absorbed the energy of, like, you know, half a galaxy. It is true in that storyline. What happened was there was this bomb that had anti-sun or anti-solar energy, and basically it was going to blow up half the galaxy, but Superman absorbed it. Now, just because you absorb the energy from the source, that does not mean that power that it has is equivalent to that. Because if you see, like with nuclear nukes, the power that they have isn't the same when it sets off. Just having the power inside the nuclear reactor, what happens is you have two, I think it's like iron, it's like plutonium and uranium. They both collide into each other that set off the nuclear explosion, which generates a massive amount of power. Now, naturally, without doing that, without the collision, they have that massive amount of power, but with the collision itself, it gives them even more power. So the explosion might have had equivalent to half a galaxy level, but the energy contained within it does not need to be it does not need to be exactly the same level of power, because when you do, you know, like create explosions and stuff, you don't need as much. You just need a good chemical reaction to create that explosion. So it doesn't mean that he was necessarily absorbing half a galaxy's destructive energy just because it can blow up a one. But still, that's not that impressive, if I'm being honest, compared to what we've seen them do.
moments later, more pissed off than hurt. Oh, and by the way, none of this was pre-crisis.
Believe us, we know none of this makes any logical sense.
And hey, it's not our fault. These writers just keep making Superman the most impossibly OP guy ever. That's kind of what he's all about.
Exactly. Superman isn't just a sketch on paper. He's an ideal. Superman and Goku are more than just characters. They inspire. They show us the best of what we can become. This is why people get so passionate about this debate.
Goku's the epitome of a self-made man in spirit and personal goals. He inspires people to work hard to achieve dreams. To many,
Dragon Ball fits this mold. Even those called gods in his universe can be defeated and surpassed.
And that is where Superman breaks this matchup. His world just doesn't fit the same mold.
Superman is an all-powerful being who is only weak to alien radiation and supernatural magic. He is not meant to be relatable. He is not meant to lose. While Goku's story is one of a man trying to be the best.
This is bullshit. I mean, even because there's a whole hierarchy of godly beings and powerful beings. Even like if you're a real comic book fan or a DC fan, you can't say that Superman is that powerful, because you would know that people like Trigon, Doom's Darkseid's true form, you know, the Presence, Michael Morningstar, what's his name? Not Lucifer Morningstar, not Michael Morningstar. Michael, I forgot what his last name was. Concept of Death. There's many other characters, Sandman, that are infinitely more powerful than Superman. So that is just not true at all. And even those most powerful godly beings have gotten their asses beaten and lost. So if cosmic entities of that level of magnitude can lose and get beaten, then somebody like Superman, who's nowhere near their level, should be also getting dominated. It makes sense. He's saying, well, the gods, his Dragon Ball can get beaten. The gods in their universe have gotten beaten. Spectre's gotten beaten. Many characters of that universe have gotten their asses whooped. I think even in one where, you know, even the Presence somehow fucking died. So yeah, just stop with this. Oh, you know, he's lost countless times. He's lost countless times. Even when he's super powerful, he's lost. This is just idiotic. This is one of the dumbest arguments.
Best warrior he can be, Superman's is the story of a god trying to live amongst men. It's not about if he loses a fight, but whether.
So let's knock him out of the park right now.
Technically, if Goku could find a way to draw energy across multiverses, his spirit bomb could possibly achieve the kind of limitless power to match Superman. But not only would that take way too long to charge, providing Superman with plenty of time to kill him thousands of times over, the Spirit Bomb does not hurt anyone pure of heart, like Superman.
Gohan, you have to bounce it back!
I already explained in the last video why that isn't the case. You don't need to have a pure heart to be hurt or killed by the Spirit Bomb itself. So that requirement is not true, like I said, with the whole Vegeta thing, and then Goku also using this on Jiren, so it doesn't really make sense. That's just a dumb argument already there. Him stating that, you know, if he got it from the multiverse, which, like I stated, I don't think Superman's multiversal level. I would barely even argue him being universal level. I know a lot of people who are going to disagree with that. I don't really care. But yeah, his feats, he's rarely shown to be that high levels of power. So him saying that he would need it, but then again, they're going based on he's infinite and stuff and just making bullshit up, which they're not showing, like, you know, statements from the writers or from, like, you know, the guidebook saying he has infinite power, he's unbeatable and this and that. And there's a lot of instances where he's lost, like I said. He wouldn't need a Spirit Bomb from the multiverse. Even a Spirit Bomb from the universe would be enough to beat him. But they're saying even with that, you might not even be able to beat him. It would be able to do only a bit of damage to him, which that's not true. That's complete lie. But they also are just trying to say that it will only harm evil people, which I've already disproven that as false.
If you don't have any evil in you, you'll be okay. Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan was about on par with Golden Frieza. When asked about Golden Frieza's power level at a panel, Frieza's voice actor said that since Frieza was a nice guy, it's probably 100 quintillion. Which is a pun, because power levels are nothing more than a big joke.
Superman has been beaten in battle before, when he was still learning. Saying Superman should lose because he lost to Doomsday is the equivalent of saying Goku should lose because he was one-shot by Raditz. We are looking at these characters at their maximum potential, not from some random point in their timelines.
Goku
It's funny that they say that shit. They're such dumbasses. First of all, that's not even the same comparison. Goku, when he got lost to Raditz, that was literally the beginning of Dragon Ball Z. The only story he had before that was Dragon Ball, which they were significantly weaker. Whereas Superman, when he lost to Doomsday, he was well in, you know, in society for decades. He was around for decades, and even just pertaining to the story itself, he was in the mythos for quite a while. One, he was in his 30s. 2, he was already in a relationship with Lois Lane. 3, she already knew he was Superman. 4, the entire world already knew about Superman and he was a big superhero who was congratulated. So it's not like he was in the beginning of his career. He was in like his prime or more of his later years in his career where he was well established. Goku just started off in Dragon Ball Z, whereas that one he was in the mythos and in reality, in real life, he was around for a long time and had quite a bit of lore. So that is not true. The other one, Goku was a rookie and a noob. This one, Superman was around for quite a while. He was prevalent. At that point, he was still a veteran. So he still lost while he was a veteran, not when he was first starting off. That's a complete lie. Also, they're acting like Doomsday was the only one who's done that. Darkseid did it. He's never been, fought something like Trigon. Mixius Spitalik, like I stated, some people say, well, no, Mixius, Superman's stronger than him because he'd be the World Forger and shit like that. But it's like, no, Mixie, he stated before, even Superman stated, you're never been this powerful in, it was in the Emperor Joker comic book series. He's like, you're never this powerful. He's like, I've always have been. It's just that I haven't needed to use it against you. I was just messing with you. Why would I use my full power? And when Emperor Joker went full power, Superman couldn't do anything to him. None of them could do anything. Joker was fucking around. He was just like, I'm gonna let as he was messing around, the multiverse was crumbling again and get destroyed. So he was just gonna let it happen. And Superman and Batman were fighting back and forth to get control of it. I forgot how he lost, but it wasn't because Superman beat him with his physical power. They were all just getting bodied by him pretty much. So yeah, he's lost to countless other characters. They're just lying, saying, oh, it's only Doomsday. He's lost to many other characters, and when he did lose to Doomsday, he was really well established in his mythos. He was a veteran at that time, not only in reality, but also in the story itself. I mean, he was already dating with Lois Lane. She knew he was Clark Kent was Superman, which is way later on in his stories every time. So how is this when he's early on if she already knows who he is, and he's a very well established superhero? That's just bullshit to say, well, he was not invincible then, but then he learned how to be invincible later on. No, he was never invincible. They never stated that.
May have divine ki now, but it's still ki, not magic.
Ki may be spiritual in nature, but it's still a natural source of living energy even Superman possesses. In fact, Dragon Ball emphasizes a clear difference between ki and magic.
And if Goku did destroy the sun or the planet, he can't survive in the vacuum of space. Superman can and could always just fly to another yellow sun, or even a blue one, which boosts his powers even faster.
Ultimately, Goku vs. Superman comes down to a difference of limits and purpose. What happens when you pit a man with a...
So that was Death Battle's old and shitty video. This was worse than the original one. This one was just complete lies. Them just stating that he has infinite power, they didn't really... There are two instances that they showed, like I said, wasn't even infinite, and he failed in both of them, which, like I said, all those feats, if you look at the real comic book that it came from, you would see that they took it well out of context, and for them to take it out of context disproves their argument, because if he was really that powerful where he is, infinite and limitless, you wouldn't need to lie and make shit up. You would just show the full thing. There would be no need for that, because every comic book that would go through it would showcase that that's the case. But the fact that you had manipulated means to us that that isn't the case, and you just want the narrative to be the case, which it is just not. But yeah, those arguments were pretty dumb. I'm just looking back at the ones and stuff. Also, them keep on trying to argue that Ki is not magic. I don't know why they keep on doing this. They're making it sound like of Goku doesn't have some magic advantage that he can't beat Superman, or if characters don't have magical advantages, they can't beat him. That's stupid. Yes, we know Ki is not like magic, because they've literally established that magic and Ki are two different things. You can have both those powers as a single individual, but having Ki does not mean you have magic. But the thing is, Goku does not need magic to beat Superman's ass. He can beat his ass with his power alone. To make that argument is to make him sound weaker, like he needs magic. We are not making that argument because we don't think he's that pathetic that he needs magic to beat him. They're just saying that just so we're like, well, you guys are saying that it's magic to beat him. Nobody's saying that. You guys just can't fucking admit that he would lose without needing the magic. He's not infinite. And even if you disagree with me and think that he could beat Goku or, whatever, you gotta at least agree and admit the fact that he is not limitless and he can be beaten without the use of magic. And there's more powerful characters than him, not only in his own universe, but outside of, DC and in other universes. It's just not the case, and it's just not true, and they're bullshitting. That was a complete lie. You could at least agree with that, even if you don't believe Goku could beat him or whatever, or with his Ki alone. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and stay tuned for next time.